They told me it would be a dream job, $8,000 a month, free room and board. All I had to do was maintain digital archives for the Mar-a-Lago estate in Palm Beach, Florida, a kind of digital librarian for the Trump family's private video recordings, photographs, and communications. No press, no social media, total discretion. At 28, recently laid off from a collapsing news agency, I wasn't in a position to ask too many questions. I packed my bags. The estate looked like something out of a Spanish fever dream. Red-tiled roofs, golden domes, and the oppressive beauty of old money. But it was the silence that hit me first. There were no tourists, no press, no chatter. The great halls echoed with whispers of things they no longer said out loud. I was escorted by a woman in red heels and an expression that never moved above strained professionalism. "You're not to enter the West Wing," she said coldly. "Ever." I nodded. Of course. The room they gave me was too large for a single man. Marble floors, heavy curtains, no mirrors. On my third night, I noticed the dreams. I saw faces I didn't recognize, mouths sewn shut, eyes that moved in impossible ways. A golden mask with hollow sockets looming over a black altar. I told myself it was stress, just stress. But on the fifth night, I woke up to a low hum, a chant coming from behind the walls. A deep, droning male voice, reciting something in a language I couldn't place. I followed the sound, barefoot, half asleep, through corridors I hadn't seen before, until I came to a door marked only with the letter V. It wasn't locked. Behind it, a narrow spiral staircase descending into cold, dry air. There's a room beneath Mar-a-Lago, stone-walled, circular. At the center, a sunken pit covered with a heavy metal grate. Around it stood 12 hooded figures, chanting in sync. And at the center of them, staring directly at me, even though I had not made a sound, was Donald J. Trump. But he looked wrong. His skin sagged unnaturally, like it was only barely clinging to the bone. His eyes were too dark, too sharp. His hands moved in a rhythm that didn't match the chant, like a puppeteer behind invisible strings. "You shouldn't be here," he said. His voice wasn't quite human. I ran, back through the halls, up the spiral stairs, locked my door, burned the shirt I was wearing. I submitted my resignation by encrypted email the next morning. But I never got a reply. My phone no longer had signal. The Wi-Fi password had changed. No one looked me in the eye. That night, my door creaked open at 3:33 a.m. Standing there was the woman in red heels. Her face was different, eyes glassy, mouth stitched with crimson thread. She raised a finger to her lips, "Shoo," and walked away. I tried to leave the estate the next morning. The front gates were closed. The guards didn't speak. Their eyes were hollow, like puppets whose strings were held elsewhere. Mar-a-Lago was a tomb, and I was buried alive inside it. I kept to my room for days, eating only what they left at the door. But the chanting got louder. I began to notice gaps in the videos I was archiving, time lapses where people would disappear mid-frame. In one, dated from 1992, a young aide stares into the camera and mouths the words, "He is not what he seems." I tried to show it to someone. The file vanished the next day. Then came the final night. I was pulled from my room, escorted by two red-hooded figures, silent as stone. They brought me to the underground chamber again, but this time the pit was open. Inside it, a pulsing red light, a presence, something alive, breathing beneath the earth, wrapped in chains forged from bone and gold. Trump stood at the edge. "This," he said, "is where it begins again." He stepped forward, and the air cracked like thunder. His skin melted off in layers, like a mask being peeled, revealing a form made of glistening dark energy and teeth. "You want a truth?" he hissed. "Then witness it." I don't know how I escaped. I woke up in a hospital in Miami 3 weeks later. They said I was found wandering along the I-95, naked, dehydrated, and muttering about the man with two shadows. Every attempt I've made to share my story has failed. My emails get bounced. My footage gets corrupted. But I keep trying, because I know that the next election is coming, and Mar-a-Lago still stands. And beneath it, something ancient is waking up. End of part 1. approximates 7,800 characters. The Mar-a-Lago Ritual. Part 2. The Second Face. I've learned to stop asking why me. I used to think I was chosen at random, just a desperate freelancer thrown into the mouth of something ancient and evil. But the truth is, I was never chosen. I was summoned. After I escaped Mar-a-Lago, or rather, after it let me go, my life fractured. Not in ways I could prove, in ways that crept in sideways. First, my reflection began to lag behind. It moved just a second too late, as if some other version of me were catching up. Then the whispers returned, but not from outside. From inside my ears. They would say my name, over and over. Eli, the blood is still on you. That's when I stopped sleeping. One morning, I found a letter slipped under my motel door. No posti, no signature. It read, "You saw his form, but not his face. The ritual is incomplete. Come to Bedminster. Come before the blood moon." I had two options. 1. Pretend none of it happened. 2. Follow the trail and find the truth before it found me again. I chose wrong. Bedminster, New Jersey. Another Trump property. Another palace of stone and gold and shadows. I arrived posing as a reporter for The Atlantic. The ID badge I used had long expired, but the guards didn't check. They just looked into my eyes, paused, then nodded. Inside the estate, everything was wrong in a familiar way. Silence. Empty halls. Red-robed staff. Eyes that didn't blink. In the center of the courtyard stood a fountain, but the water flowed upward, as if time was reversing itself. In the cellar beneath the wine vault, I found it. The second altar. It was built from the same pale stone I'd seen in Florida. But here, the markings were deeper, older, and the pit was wider, hungrier. A robed figure waited for me there. I thought it was another servant, until it removed its hood. It was me, or rather, it wore my face, but twisted, hollow-eyed, pale, lips moving in reverse. "You left something behind," it rasped, and pressed its forehead against mine. Memories not my own flooded in. A blood moon rising over Mar-a-Lago as people chant in Latin, and something beneath the floor laughs. Trump holding a book bound in skin, reading names aloud. Names of world leaders, celebrities, billionaires. Each name echoing with power and a scream. The moment he stopped being human, a deal struck in 1986 with something that bled oil and spoke in static. And the promise he made, in exchange for dominion, I give you the world once every 77 years. Eyes that bled black smoke. Around us, the chanting rose again, but not human voices. These were deeper, hollow, like thunder screaming through bone. "You carry the mark," he said. "The pit still remembers your blood." He raised a blade, obsidian, long, and vibrating with impossible energy. But before he could strike, the reflection returned. That other version of me, the hollow one, appeared beside the altar and screamed. And the scream shattered the air. The robed figures froze. The mask on Trump cracked. And I kicked free. I ran. Through fire. Through ash. Through doors that weren't doors. Out into a world that no longer felt mine. That was 2 weeks ago. Since then, news headlines have grown weirder. Several missing at Mar-a-Lago. Authorities blame sinkhole. Blood moon unusually bright. NASA declines comment. Donald Trump's eyes appear unnatural during rally, says former aide. I'm not the only one who saw it now. The ritual is spreading, and the pit is still open. Here's what I know. There are 7 altars, each in a Trump-owned property, each awakening a different face of the entity that wears him like a suit. And when the last face awakens, he won't need to run again, because the world will run to him. I'm not telling this story to warn you. It's already too late for that. I'm telling it because you'll start to see it too. In his speeches, in the static between news channels, in your dreams. When you do, don't run. It already knows your name, just like it knew mine.